I'm Maddie, and you're watching Crash Course 2.0, and today we're going to talk to you about the political, economic, and social effects of World War II, specifically on the country of Japan. We will discuss the extreme shift of government power from Emperor Hirohito to a strong military leader, the Japanese Depression that later turned into a time of prosperity, and numerous shifts in social structure, including women gaining the right to vote.
Hi, I'm Kirsten, and I'm here to talk to you about the economic effects that World War II had on Japan before, directly after the war was over, and the long-lasting effects it had on Japan. You will then know how World War II was a turning point for the country as a whole. To start off, we know that in 1926, Emperor Hirohito was in power, and there was a struggle between liberals or left-wing people and the ultra-conservatives. While the left side of the spectrum pushed towards more government involvement, the right-wing conservatives pushed for legislation to introduce wealth distribution and political change. The Japanese economy post-World War I was suffering due to the Depression, much like the rest of the world during the 1930s. Furthermore, Japan practiced a lifestyle of isolationism, where the Western influence was kept out. This created a strong sense of unity and identity, but also made it difficult to import goods. Thus, Japan suffered from an insufficient amount of raw materials. Following the war, the United States led the Allies in the rehabilitation of the Japanese economy. The Supreme Command of Allied Powers, or the SCAP, feared that a suffering Japanese economy would lead to a revolution towards a communist government. Thus, they got involved to stimulate the economy and prevent such measures. General Douglas A. MacArthur led this widespread Japanese reform. In addition, Japan's role in the Korean War of 1950 also helped stimulate the economy, as it was a major supplier for the UN. We see that World War II was largely a turning point for the Japanese economy because of the long-lasting positive effects that occurred after the war. Of course, following the war, Japan was a country in a great deal of trouble in almost every aspect of society. However, such events such as the Ministry of International Trade and Industry and the Golden 60s followed the war and helped Japan through a time of long-lasting prosperity.
Hi, I'm Una, and I'm here to talk to you about the social effects that World War II had on Japan. Although there have been many different social effects on Japan post-World War II, today we will be focusing on Japan's population decline, women's rights, and the modern family arrangement. Diseases which were widespread during the war now spread through the country after its defeat during the war. In 1947, 146,241 people died of tuberculosis. The war revolutionized the lives of many Japanese women. During the beginning of the war, women were directed to join various volunteer associations which didn't directly involve factory work, but by 1944, the women were required to work in factories due to the loss of men. Over 4 million women who were either unmarried or old enough were working in 17 industrial sectors. Even married women were encouraged to work. Women were allowed to vote for the first time during the 1946 Japanese general election. Up until Japan was defeated in World War II, polygamy, the act of having multiple wives, was legal. A father, multiple wives, and their children and other relatives were considered one family. After World War II, a national family registration was established and the new, modern concept of a family was understood. Under the democratic constitution, marriage was supposed to be based on equal relations between man and woman. Polygamy was prohibited, and a family was formed under the father as the head of the household. As a result of the war, 1.74 million Japanese servicemen and 1 million civilians died, roughly 3 to 4% of the country's 1941 population. In 1945, Japan had a disastrous harvest with a shortfall of almost 40% of what they would normally yield. Hunger became a large problem. Officials in Osaka estimated that 46% of the economic crimes in the jurisdiction involved food.
Emperor Hirohito was born April 29, 1901 in Tokyo, Japan. He was the first son of the Crown Prince Yoshihito. At a young age, he was separated from his parents to be educated, a common Japanese custom, and he also attended a separate institute to be conditioned to become emperor. On November 2, 1916, he was given the title of Crown Prince. On December 25, 1926, following the death of his father, Hirohito took the throne. Hirohito was a reluctant supporter of the occupation of Manchuria, which led to the Second Sino-Japanese War. Japan's military subsequently became more aggressive and implemented policies reflecting that stance. Hirohito was said to be unenthusiastic about Japan's involvement in the war, but was often pictured in uniform to show his support. Lingering controversy has remained about his true role in Japan's armed operations during this era.
Hi, I'm Kareem.
Largely, we see the issues that are brought up with World War II have many solutions and are wanted to be dealt with in many different ways. With this ultra-nationalistic movement in Japan, we see they try to expand and take over the country's markets in order to pull themselves out of their economic instability. For example, the attack on Manchuria in 1931 for raw materials is a perfect example of how Japan tries to take over other countries' markets. This aggressive shift towards imperialism is a result of the pressures of World War II. Following the war, Japan is now being politically reconstructed by the United States. The new constitution drafted by the United States transforms Japan into a constitutional monarchy. This gives the sovereignty to lie with the people instead of the emperor. Furthermore, Japan is forced to adopt a parliamentary-based system of government that would last for a very long time. Looking at all the evidence, we can see the radical change in Japan politically due to World War II.
Overall, we see that World War II was a horrible time in history that resulted in millions of deaths all around the world. Japan, however, experienced massive changes, politically, economically, and socially, due to the war. We can see a direct relationship between the outcome of the war to the radical fluctuating economy. Furthermore, the political assassinations and governmental reform in Japan is unequivocally due to the events of the war. Finally, we see events such as the spread of ideas into Japan as they begin to be less isolated from the world, having a direct effect on Japan's social structure. Thank you for watching Crash Course 2.0 and stay tuned to our next video.